Hello and welcome to the first ever live Just Interesting podcast, number 52, one for every week of the year. How are you both, Robin and Martin?
Fine, thank you. Glad to be here. Excited to reveal the behind-the-scenes secrets of how the podcast is made.
How the sausage is made, Robin. The disgusting, gritty, grisly sausage that is the Just Interesting podcast. Like you guys, I'm also excited, keen to be here. Got a beer in hand, and just great to speak to you guys as always.
I'm excited, but also a little bit apprehensive because I know the editing process. I've seen what we have to cut out. So look, Robin. Okay, and I'm looking at you here, Robin. I want a nice, clean podcast. Okay.
You sound like a boxing referee.
No on a nice clean podcast.
Yeah, touch gloves. Yeah, there we go.
This is going to be perfect from start to finish, and nothing is going to go wrong.
No mistakes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, already I've noticed a mistake. Martin, we've swapped Twitter handles, but no one's going to notice that.
But you know what? That's fine. That's fine. I can change that live.
Maybe it will improve my numbers. Let's see.
No, it'll improve my numbers. I think I'll get a sudden boost. All these people suddenly think, I've been following the wrong one all this time. Yeah.
Oh, so
Alex, someone asked how you are. How are you, mate?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. What's been new this week? Not much really. Just been getting to know Edinburgh a little bit. That's where I live now.
Yeah. Any particular favourite spots you've located so far?
We had a nice walk up to Leith, which was nice. It was long though. It was a long walk. When you go on one of those walks to a destination, and it's like you get to a point though where you've committed to the walk, and you know that you've got to walk back the exact same way.
Yeah.
And then 50 minutes in, you really have to make some decisions. Are we going to carry on here, or are we going back?
I had that in the Lake District. I went fell walking with my dad and my mum. And my mum, she's not very good on her feet. She's got a few issues there. And so she was like, I'm going to stop here after like the first big hill. And she sat down, and me and my dad were like, we're going to carry on because the top of the hill is just over there. We can see it from here. We just do that. So we carry on walking. And of course, it's much further than we think it's going to be. It's like 30-minute walk. Getting up to the top of that hill, of course, it's the next hill is the top one. Of course, the next hill. And then we get to the top of that one. No, it's the next one. And so by the time we came back, it was about 3 hours later. My mum had been sat there and she was not happy.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, long walks to unknown destinations.
Fair enough. How about you, Robin? You been on any long walks recently?
I went on a long walk last week, I think, not this week. Kept meaning to. Every day I'd say to my wife, tomorrow let's go for a walk, and it just wouldn't happen. I'm a bit busy with work, but that's all right. But yeah, not as bad as the hill example, but similar thing where we went for a nice walk on a sunny day last week along the river and just kept going. And at a certain point we said, we should turn around. Say, let's turn around at the next bend. And we just keep on going. Just keep on going until eventually we thought we should really turn around now because we're going to miss the rugby if we don't get back home. So it's good to have a thing to go back for. Otherwise you could just walk forever.
Fair enough. I just wanted to say thank you to Matthew for just following us on Twitch. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Peaswad says, are you guys accepting questions? Of course we're accepting questions, Peaswad.
Big time.
I don't know if we're going to answer it though. We've got a podcast to be getting on with. But no, we'll still be doing questions of the week along with what we learned this week. And we thought this week we would be discussing religious artifacts that have been lost to history.
Yeah.
This was chosen by Robin, and you'll find out why in due course.
You're going to find out why.
Inspired the decision.
I kind of resent the fact that we've gone with this now, but
I don't know what you're talking about. I thought it was a genuinely good idea, and I thought that we would all be into this, because the question is, have we got some diversity in the representation of religions here, or have we all gone for the same one? In which case,
I believe we have.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. It's good. That's kind of a theme, and that's fine. That means we can theme another episode around the same topic. But but it's true. A different religion. True. I was worried that we'd have an awkward kind of two from the same religion and one from another religion. Be like, no, this wasn't very well thought out, was it? But anyone who's wondering,
fair enough.
This is how things go. I suggested the topic. The guy said, that sounds good, and then we didn't actually tell each other what we picked until about an hour ago. So it would have been a bit awkward otherwise if we all turned up with the same thing.
This is what I'm worried about. We're going to have these bits in this podcast that's live that normally we'd cut out, where it's like, what was that? Where we just haven't done enough research, and we have to pause and look it up.
Quick scramble.
And I'm not sure how we're going to do that. We're just going to have to push on, make stuff up.
Yeah, we're not allowed to ask each other any awkward questions. But in the comments, please do ask any awkward questions you like.
Yeah, because as we said, we can just ignore them.
We can. Indeed.
I think we should press on, but before we do, let's have a look at the comments now that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Scotty says, "Evening, gents. Evening. How's it going, Scotty?" Matthew, hey guys, what's up? Thanks for tuning in, Matthew. Aaron watching says, "So glad I'm catching y'all." Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for tuning in and watching us live. And Peaswad asked, "Alex, since moving out of the UK, do you watch exotic shows now, like the Great British Bake Off?" Scotland's still in the UK, believe it or not.
For now.
I mean, who knows for how long? Who knows for how long? But the Great British Bake Off, yeah. I mean, it's actually not one that I've always watched religiously, which I think is I don't know, blasphemy for the UK.
Probably.
Are we all legally required to watch the Great British Bake Off in the UK?
It's up there.
Yeah. I remember when it switched, there was a big controversy when it switched from BBC to Channel 4. And that was when my wife, who was a massive Bake Off fan, said, "I'm not going to watch it anymore. It's not going to be the same." And then now you walk into the room and she's on the laptop, she's watching it. And it's like, yeah, you're an addict. You're just getting your fix in secret now.
Yeah. I think it's potentially better.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
Actually, I think it might actually be better now. But yeah.
Well, from Great British Bake Off to what
Great British Stories.
What segue? Smooth. Love it. Yeah.
Not even a segue. When you start a segue, but you don't have an end to the segue. Marianne asks, how much time usually goes between when you record an episode and upload it?
Ooh.
This varies quite drastically depending on how busy our weeks are, I guess. Yeah. But I think the quickest turnaround's been like a day.
Got a few that are pretty
like quick, we filmed the evening before, and then it's gone up the next day. But normally it's several days.
I think it's
a few days beforehand.
Fair to say, if we record during the week, it's more likely to take longer because we've got work. But if we record at the weekend, then we tend to be quite hot on getting it edited straight away.
In fact, Friday's a decent day to be recording, actually.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. We'll find out.
We'll see.
I mean, that's a good question for the chat. When do you like getting the podcast notifications? What's a good day for us to upload it for you? When do you like listening to the podcast? Let us know that. And now we really must be getting on with the starting the podcast, really. Martin, I'm coming to you first. What have you learned this week?
Well, Alex, since you've moved to Scotland, I thought I'd stick to the kind of the Scottish theme. Ooh. And I learnt about a person who played the bagpipes. Yeah? Do you like the sound of that? Is that a good start?
I'm liking it so far, although I'm not a huge fan of bagpipes. But
Alex, bagpipe is a beautiful
Call yourself
instrument.
Scottish.
It's just sound. It's just just noise. Come on, everyone. You're just pretending.
Well, this person.
Sorry, Martin. Go ahead.
This person. Yeah. One sec. This person. He didn't play the bagpipes anywhere. He played the bagpipes on June the 6th, 1944, on Sword Beach.
Oh gosh.
Ooh.
Yes, he played the bagpipes during the landings on D-Day.
Wow.
How did he not get killed?
Well, that's the thing. He got off the landing craft. Bloke next to him gets shot square in the face and dies right in front of him.
Oh my God.
And he just starts playing the bagpipes and playing his tunes. And he's a 21-year-old by the name of Private Bill Millin, or Millin, whichever you want to say that. And so he was dressed in his father's World War I kilt and only had a dagger on him. He didn't have a gun because, of course, he couldn't hold it. He couldn't fire it. Holding the bagpipes, pretty big. And so he waded in the water up onto the shore whilst playing the bagpipes and played a song known as Helan Laddie on his bagpipes. And so he was originally actually born in Canada, had a Scottish father, and returned to Glasgow as a kid, where he learned the bagpipes in Scotland. And then he joined the Territorial Army in Fort William and played the bagpipes in different battalions in Scotland. And so the bagpipes were actually banned from being played on the front line after World War One because, well, basically they were losing too many men. They were basically cannon fodder from the enemy who would just mow them down because they wouldn't have any weapons. They wouldn't be returning fire and just get killed. And so he talked to his officer who was in charge of him when he signed up for the army during the Second World War. And the officer basically said, yes, they've been banned, but they've been banned by the English. We're Scottish. So we're going to play the bagpipes as we go off the landing craft. So this is what he did. And so he basically played the bagpipes, and there's lots of accounts of other soldiers, remembering the sound of the bagpipes during this pretty intense battle, because people were being killed all around them. And I imagine that it was actually quite moving.
It's a solid way of making people never listen to the bagpipes again.
No.
What you mean? PTSD,
yeah.
It must have been quite, like, if you could see him, if you heard the bagpipes and you looked and you could see him, you think, wow, that's great. That guy, that's morale boosting. But if you're a mile down the beach and the wind is just carrying the sound of bagpipes, in the middle of all this maelstrom of chaos with explosions and bullets flying over your head, you're just like, I think I can hear bagpipes. It's like, shut up, Tommy, you're going mad.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's got to definitely put you off, isn't it?
That's something like psychological fear tactic, isn't it? Imagine being a German soldier and you're shooting on the beaches, seeing all these people, and one guy's just stood there with bagpipes playing.
I wouldn't.
Didn't even bring a gun.
I'd say respect to him. I'm not going to shoot that fella.
Yeah. Well, that's what they did. They spoke to some German soldiers afterwards who heard the bagpipes, and they asked why they didn't shoot, and they said, well, they just thought he'd gone insane. He was just a madman walking up and down. It wasn't worth killing him because he was no threat to them. And so that's pretty much how he survived, because people they basically didn't want to shoot him because he wasn't. But it's a bit like medics. They don't tend to shoot medics if they're going to recover injured. Tend to. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so they called him a mad bastard, the Germans did. And that's how the Mad Piper of Sword Beach was born.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really great story.
Yeah.
I did not know that at all.
Never heard of that. That's incredible.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It reminds me,
thanks, Martin.
I remember learning some years ago that the last time bagpipes were played in combat was during the Iraq War, I think. But by Canadian. Because in Canada until then, they still allowed Highland battalions to play the bagpipes in battle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why? What is it? Why is it bagpipes? What links bagpipes with playing it in war? I mean, I know that musical instruments and like soldiers and war often go hand in hand with.
Yeah, well, it's the instrument of the
and
Highland regiments, because culturally bagpipes are associated with the Highlands in Scotland, and the clans would go to war and they'd have a piper and a drummer as they march along and as they march into battle.
We're talking like kind of morale, aren't we? Really?
Yeah.
As opposed to anything else. I mean, there's not really, other than confusion for the enemy.
Yeah.
I can't see there's much more than that. Yeah.
Just like in Mad Max Fury Road with that guitarist, the flaming guitar.
Identical.
It's the same
Perfect example. Yeah. What's the worst song that they could play on their bagpipes to increase morale?
Waterloo.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can reach that. Do that on the bagpipes.
Good question. Actually, that's one for the comments. What is the worst song they could possibly play for morale? Imagine.
Spiffing says the use of bagpipes in wars is believed to have originated from the Battle of Culloden, whereby Scottish pipers would play war tunes while marching their troops into battle. There we go.
Well,
can I just have that as my interesting fact of the week? Because that's
done.
That's almost better than mine.
I mean, it happened before the Battle of Culloden. That was the culmination of the 1745 Rising. They played bagpipes in several battles before that, and they used bagpipes to march into battle during several Jacobite uprisings. But yeah, I guess it's to do with the Highlanders and the Jacobites in particular, for using Highland identity to establish themselves in opposition to the Hanoverian monarchy in England.
Just words.
Good fact. Good fact.
No, good to know.
So what was your fact, Alex? What was your actual fact this week?
You don't get to decide that, Robin. That's for me to choose who goes next. I'm the host.
Okay.
But actually, I will go next because mine is also related to Scotland.
Oh no!
And actually, about one of Scotland's biggest exports, which is
Whiskey.
But actually, this isn't about Scotland at all. It's about whiskey.
I could have said something horrible then, couldn't I? Biggest export. Drunken debauchery.
Well, debauchery's all right.
This is about another country that is also becoming more and more known for its whiskey production.
Uh-huh.
Any ideas?
Can I guess?
Land of the rising sun?
It is Japan, yes.
Yeah.
Japanese whiskey has become a phenomenon all over the world. And it's all thanks to one man named Masataka Takasuro, who was a pioneering chemist who brought the craft of Scottish whiskey to Japan.
Nice.
He came to Scotland in he founded the first he founded the first whiskey distillery in Japan in 1934 and came to Scotland initially as a 21-year-old. I think he was hired by a company in Japan who were like looking to open the first whiskey distillery.
Right.
And he was sent to Scotland to like research how they do it, basically. And he met his wife in Scotland, and she moved back with him to Japan. And he eventually opened a whiskey distillery, and it was a huge success. Nika Whiskey Distilleries, I think is the name of them. But yeah, it's all and I think there was a Japanese whiskey which was recently labeled the best in the world by someone influential.
They do often win awards.
They've won a couple now.
Right up there, yeah.
And yeah, I mean this growing trend of Japanese whiskies is all kind of thanks to this one man, which I thought was really nice.
That is nice. I literally almost bought a Japanese whiskey yesterday. I was so tempted, just staring at it on the shelf.
Which one?
The bottle looked cool.
Well, the supermarket only has two. Not because it looked cool, but because I know Japanese whiskey is nice. It was Suntory.
Yes.
There was another one which I can't remember the name of, but that was a blended one, and I tend not to like blended whiskies. But yeah, it was a Suntory, which I felt was a bit too cliche. I thought, if I'm going to get a Japanese whiskey, let's get a less well-known one. But the supermarket...
It is quite well-known, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
When the world reopens again, I will enjoy going into London to find a whiskey shop to browse the lesser-known whiskies.
There was quite a nice whiskey shop around the corner from where we used to be.
Yeah. In fact, I think you got me a birthday present from there once.
Did I?
A small bottle of Lagavulin, which I will never forget.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Robin, what did you learn this week?
Well, I should have thought to bring a Scottish-related fact, but they have elephants in Scottish zoos, right? So, yeah, there we go. Elephants in Scotland. That's the connection to my fact, which is this week I learned. National Geographic were reporting that the very first survey of African elephants has been carried out, and the results have been published. But it's the first time that they've identified them properly as two separate species. There isn't just the African elephant. There is the savanna elephant and the forest elephant. And you can tell.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and apparently, I mean, for years, this has been a thing for years where zoologists have been saying there are two different species. Apparently, I think it's the forest elephants are a lot bigger and they've got straighter tusks, I think, and the savanna elephants are smaller and have straight tusks. So it's blindingly obvious, if you know what you're looking for, that they're two different types of elephant. But they finally recognized it and done a survey. So that's good news. Sad news is that this survey has been measuring how many of them there are and going through past studies of how many elephants there are for the past 75 years. And they found that savanna elephants numbers have declined by over 50% in the last 75 years. And forest elephants have fallen by more than 80% over the last 100 years. So they're now critically endangered.
Oh.
But because they were treating them as one species before, they weren't endangered. But now they've identified that there are two separate species that are both endangered. So
is it poaching, I guess? Yeah. Poaching causing that?
Yeah, so it's not really to do with urbanization or anything. It's just poaching. Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's madness.
We are just the worst, aren't we?
We really are.
Oh, that is a depressing fact.
Yeah, sorry, I dragged the tone down.
See, this is why I decide who goes first. Could have ended on my wholesome Japanese whiskey story. Oh well. Shall we move to the comments?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, we got comments of the week, but I mean, we're live on Twitch, so I don't know. Do we go to the YouTube comments or do we go to the Twitch comments? I think we go to the Twitch comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we should.
Let's have a look. What are we saying? Peaceful, sassy Alex. Yeah, that was a bit sassy, wasn't it? I don't like how I can be called out on things I say. Oh, Isabel, thank you for following us. Cheers for the follow. Thanks for sticking around.
Oh, that's good. There's a comment from Chloe Sadmiatia. I may have mispronounced that. I apologize. Who says the sexual tension between Martin and Alex is palpable.
Why did you bring that comment up? I was deliberately going to ignore that one.
It's a good comment. I thought so.
Oh, well, I mean, what do we say to that, Martin?
But yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Wow, it's weird now. So let's move on.
My gosh,
you have to embrace these things. It's a bit like boxers when they face off, and then one of them goes and kisses the other one, and they get really mad.
Yeah, I've got a little conversation
sizing up each other
about whiskies in the comments now. This is quite interesting.
I know, yeah. Well, I'm glad we can have this discussion.
Yeah.
What are your favorite whiskies, you guys?
I like that Lagavulin 16 that Robin mentioned. I think.
Yeah, same.
That's the reason I picked it up.
I don't think I've ever had any Lagavulin. I should do, really.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's a good one. I do quite like peaty whiskies. So quite like Lefroy. Someone mentioned Lefroy. You mentioned Lefroy.
Yeah, I bought a Lefroy yesterday. Instead of the Japanese, I bought the Lefroy. Yeah, it's nice. Peaty whiskies are the best, I think. Although it's nice to have a change, so it's good to have. There are some whiskies which are a little bit more syrupy, a bit more honeyed. Like I think it's Karoo, or it could be Cardew, but I think it's Karoo. That's Karoo Gold. That's kind of sweet. I like that.
Yeah. And Ajura is quite sweet as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Highland Park actually is all right. I was surprised because it's just a 12-year-old, but it's pretty good for a 12-year-old.
I've got to be honest. Even though I'm the one living in Scotland, I probably know the least about whiskey than either of you. I do know that like the Islay whiskies, like Lagavulin and all of those, they're a bit spicy for me. They're a little bit
bit sharp.
It can be a little bit.
I mean, I haven't tried Lagavulin, so I need to try that. But generally, those
it's less. Yeah. It's not as smoky as some of the others.
Yeah.
So Peaswood says, so when Martin sees Alex in person for the first time, is he going to surprise Alex with a kiss?
Why do you think I moved to Scotland, Peaswood?
Well, there we go.
Is that a whiskey in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? That's
oh, amazing.
Outrageous.
Yeah, you like
Batman
a good space side.
Ate my yeah, space side. That's probably my go-to. Batman Ate My Shoe asked, what persuaded you to move to Scotland, Alex? We visited here in January last year, just before lockdown, and we just loved the city. And my girlfriend's got a job up here in the city, so that's why we moved. But I'm enjoying it so far. I've been here for over a month now.
And I promise I don't regret it.
Yeah, there were some people on the last podcast who were commenting, or maybe the podcast before that, who were worried that because Alex had moved to Scotland, that would be the end of Just Interesting. But he has sworn and made a blood oath to Martin and me that this will not be the end of Just Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I sent you some blood in the post.
You did.
And we did the blood oath that way. It was socially distanced. It was fine.
Yeah. Socially distanced blood oath.
You can buy these bodily fluid kits on the internet and just send each other a round robin of fluids.
The thing is, that sounds like a joke, but it's so oddly specific.
It is a joke. If you know where to look in the right corner of the internet, you can find anything.
Sure, you know how. After the episode about the dark web.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Sorry, Angelos.
I was going to say Angelos has said Chivas Regal or Chivas Regal. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say that as a whiskey recommendation. That's a funny one because the reason that caught my eye, that comment, is because I'd never heard of that whiskey until I went to Europe on holiday 3-4 years ago, and then it was everywhere. It was the only whiskey I could see that was on every menu, in every shop, was Chivas Regal, and I was like, "What is this? It's like, this has really cornered the market in Central Europe." Great for them. And now I've come back to the UK and I see it everywhere as well. I'm like, oh my goodness, how did I not notice this thing before?
You tried it?
I don't think I did, actually.
That's I mean, that might just be a genuine, like, it came out of nowhere, as like whiskeys often do, or alcohol in general. But there is that phenomenon, isn't there, where you don't notice something before until you start thinking about it, and then you just see it everywhere you go. Can't remember what that's called, but if you know in the comments, let me know.
Yeah. Psychological phenomenon.
Yeah. Do you think it's time for us to move on to our topic of the week, or did we have any other comments from the YouTube that we want to talk about from last week's podcast?
I'm happy to move on. We could
NFTs.
Keep addressing the comments as they come up. I'm happy to talk about that.
Let's do that. So this week's question of the week, I guess, is where did these religious artifacts go? Artifacts lost to history. And to aid us this week, we've each chosen an artifact, and we'd like to discuss them. So, shall I go first?
Yeah,
please do.
Yeah.
Okay, so the artifact that I've chosen is, drum roll, please. You don't actually have to do a drum roll. We should have added that in. Is a pretty big one. It's the cross, the original cross that Jesus was crucified on. Whoa. Where did this end up? Because centuries later, for centuries, people claimed to sell fragments of this cross, in monasteries and churches, and I think the Vatican sold them as well.
That is madness, isn't it?
Little, like, tiny pieces of the alleged real cross that Jesus was crucified on, and the cross itself is in moments of history when people have stumbled across it, is said to have mystical powers and healing abilities, and that's what these little fragments are marketed at as well, and are supposed to bring you good luck.
I mean, that's clearly not the worst thing that the Catholic Church has done, is it selling bits of Jesus Christ, falsely selling fragments of the cross. But still, you think that if they knew that these fragments were nothing to do with the cross of Jesus Christ, and were fleecing people out of a pretty sum to get a piece of history, so to speak, that's a pretty immoral thing to do, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the argument, because someone pointed out, who was it who pointed out? See, these are the bits that we'd normally cut out of the podcast in case you weren't aware. But someone pointed out that basically, if all of these fragments were put together, it would be like the size of a large ship worth of
Noah's Ark.
I was going to ask
worth of crosses. There's no possible way that it could have all come from one cross. But a lot of people's arguments has been the cross itself is indestructible. So if you broke off a little bit, it's like feeding thousands of people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It's self-replicating. Don't question
miraculous. It. Yeah.
Don't question it. That's the key. Don't question it.
It's all good, isn't it? Because once because it's medieval times, I'm assuming we're talking about here, early medieval through to late medieval and into the modern era.
You've assumed, I mean, into the modern era is right. You can find bits of it on eBay.
Really? I'm straight on there. I'm going to bid 99p, see what happens.
There's one I'm looking at that's $780.
That's fairly reasonable for a bit of the true cross.
On the condition it says used, which is amazing.
I guess you've got to put it down as something, haven't you?
Classic, yeah.
It's not new.
Used.
New, still shrink wrapped in its original packaging.
Yeah.
Sorry,
where does this come from in history? What where did the actual real thing go, basically? So the earliest known recorded record of the true cross comes from like 300, around the year 300, and basically, what's her name? So Empress Helena, during her 4th century travels to the Holy Land, she went to the Holy Land looking for religious artifacts to try and preserve some of this history, and find some of these holy relics. And she apparently dug up the site where Jesus was crucified. Is the story anyway. She dug it up.
The place to start.
Exactly. And on top of the site where Jesus had been crucified, they'd built a temple. To...
Oh, okay.
So like I think the Romans had built it after his crucifixion.
In fact, Jerusalem, there's a whole trail, isn't there, of little shrines and churches. Well, now they're churches. At each point of Christ's journey through Jerusalem up to the hill, which I can't remember the name of now. Oh yeah, that's terrible. Golgotha, is that it? Where he was crucified.
But so she dug up this site where Jesus was allegedly crucified, and she found 3 crosses, which were presumed to be the cross of Jesus's cross, and the two other blokes who were crucified next to him.
It wasn't like suddenly a game show host appeared and said, "Which cross is the original? Is it cross number 1? Cross number 2?"
There is actually a record of how they found out which one was Jesus's.
Oh yeah.
The Bishop of Jerusalem had an idea. He made a sick woman who was previously uncurable touch the wood, and upon touching the one of the 3, she was healed straight away. So that's
good. That's good, actually.
Clearly Jesus's cross.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
And Helena ordered the building of a church where this was discovered, which she called the Church of the Resurrection, and she set off for Rome with this cross in tow. And apparently, according to tradition, this relic was well preserved until 614, and then I think, was Rome sacked at that point? Or something?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then apparently later on, the cross disappeared into the hands of the Persians. And really, it hasn't really cropped up since. So we don't know where it is. But what do you think would have happened to this? Do you think there's any chance at all that it would still be around today?
Do I think it's on eBay?
Do you think
is that what you're asking?
Were broken up? Well, do you think if this was around in Rome during this time, and it was pretty visited by lots of people, there's a possibility that genuine fragments of it could have been broken off and sold to people. So do you think any of those would be floating around today?
I think it's tough to validate her claims that she took it from the Holy Land back to Rome. I guess in the first place, it's difficult to validate that. I think that if you were there and you were one of the people who witnessed Jesus' death, and you were a disciple of his or a follower, or even just an onlooker, I expect that people who were there would want to take a bit of history. I imagine the cross is probably broken up a long time before she got there, in my estimations. If I was thinking about it, logically, you'd expect that people would know the significance of this even at the time, and want to have a piece of that. So whether it got to Rome in the first place, I think is definitely another question. But yeah, I mean, the second thing was, would you want to break this up, or would you want to keep it as a fragment? I know you said it deteriorated over the years, which wood, of course, does. My guess is that.
What's the oldest wooden artifact still in existence? I guess would be an interesting thing to find out.
Oh, that's a very good
how old can this wood be preserved? 300 years underground. I mean, I know it's got mystical powers or whatever, but
also things do get preserved in the desert much better and hot climates like Israel much better than they get preserved in Europe, for instance, where it's much Northern Europe in particular, where it's much more moderate and wet. Yes, and things rot very easily.
I guess so, yeah, because there's less bacteria and mold growth. I guess that's what would get to wood eventually.
Yeah, I mean, Egyptian pharaohs, their tombs, right? They've got artifacts carved out of wood. Those things go back 5,000 years. Some of them go back even further, I think. So
that's a great point.
Possible. I mean, you say there's a difference between being buried underground and buried in a tomb underground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with Martin. I guess it seems odd that they would. Was it common practice for the Romans to bury the crosses that people were crucified on the spot? You think they're more likely to reuse them, surely?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, yeah,
or they would just burn them. Yeah.
The story goes that like they buried them and then built a temple to like Jupiter or someone on top of it. So maybe it was like a sign of like, don't listen to this guy who's a false prophet. Here's the one true religion kind of thing. That's why like no one was able to dig it up later on in those 300 years and claim it before Empress Helena got that.
It definitely seems plausible that whatever she brought back from the Holy Land in the 4th century, was it? Could have survived until 614, and then something happened to it when Rome was sacked.
Yeah.
Would the Persians have enough respect to really care about this hunk of wood? They'd probably just throw it overboard or burn it again or break it up or something. I'm assuming, obviously, massive assumption. I don't think the Persians were Christian at the time, but they could have been.
Fair enough. Apparently there is a Greek Orthodox church that presents a small true cross relic shown in the Greek treasury at the foot of Golgotha within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So apparently, and the Armenian Apostolic Church also has the small shard from the true cross, apparently.
Of course.
Would you ever go to these places and see it? And would you believe it if you did see it?
If I were in the area, yeah, I'd check it out.
There are often these things, aren't there, when you go, I don't know if you guys have been abroad to either the Vatican or wherever else, and they say this is the original of this, the original of that. And you're always a little bit like, is it though? Is it though? Because I've been to Turkey and they also have the foot of, I don't know, St. John the Baptist. There tends to be, there are so many different versions of the same thing housed in different places that I always have a tough time believing that we're actually onto the real one. But I guess someone's got to have it somewhere, most likely.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't know. I can't imagine that it would have survived all this time. I don't know what would have happened with it, but yeah, I'm kind of leaning into what you said, Robin, that they probably reuse it, right? Probably just reuse it and forget which one it was. And well, shall we move on to the next one? But what have people said in the comments? Because we can do that now.
Oh my gosh,
we're live.
Live reaction. Yeah.
Tsar Chris said, from what I've understood after crucifixion, the Romans would take the body off the cross and remove any nails and rope that were used so they could reuse them later. They wouldn't have buried the cross with the person. There you go.
Yeah.
Whether they did that for Jesus or if they made an exception for this. But I'm not sure why they would, because they didn't think he was the Son of God anyway, did they?
That's true. And she said she also found 3 crosses as well, right?
Yeah.
So even if they did this with Jesus's, they probably wouldn't have done it with the 2 thieves or robbers who were flanking him, would they? So
they didn't have mass production here. Imagine if you built that with your own 2 hands and then they just immediately buried it underground. If you were the carpenter that made that cross,
furious.
You'd be annoyed, wouldn't you?
That's my finest cross, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems unlikely. The other thing that strikes me is that when these empresses and rulers go to other countries, they always seem to come back with something significant, don't they? They've always got to be seen to be returning with something amazing. Oh, look what Empress has done. Look what she's done to us. She's brought back this amazing relic. It's like, no, she hasn't. Most likely she hasn't. Let's be honest.
I mean, that's true.
She's probably been someone's fobbed it to her.
Yeah.
Flogged her a fake cross, and she's just gone, okay, I'll bring that one back then.
That's a very fair point. Yeah, she was the empress. She could have just got some wooden planks together and said, no, yep, look what I found.
Yeah, and the empress says, "Oh, there's a bit of the true cross." Everyone back home in Rome is like, "Yeah, definitely."
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll make a nice jeweled golden case and we'll put it in there, and it's definitely the true cross. Yeah.
Oh, Marianne says, unrelated, but is the stream glitching really badly right now, or is it my internet? Everything looks okay on my end.
Stream is stable according to Twitch. So sorry, Marianne. It seems like it might be a connection problem at your end. Oh gosh, big question there from Rowan M95. Do we have firm evidence that Jesus was actually crucified at all? Big question. So I can give an amateur answer to this, if you don't mind.
That's what people come for, Robin. Amateur answers to big questions.
So I can say with some confidence that there is no historical evidence for Jesus outside of the Bible. But the Bible has 4 accounts of Jesus' life. As you know, the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All of them say that he was crucified. So we can be pretty sure that he was crucified. But your question is, do we have firm evidence? And the irony is that outside the Bible, we don't have any evidence. But
wasn't there like Roman records, or is that a myth?
No, that's one of the things. There is there's no census on which he appears, and there's no record of his execution. But that's not because he wasn't recorded. It's that they didn't make those kind of records at the time that he was crucified, or supposed to have been crucified, I should say. But regardless of that fact, it should be noted that the general historical consensus is, and not just in the West, but globally, that Jesus was a historical figure, and he did exist, and he was probably crucified. And in fact, the one thing that historians do agree on, whether they're atheist or not, is that Jesus was crucified. Obviously, the circumstances of his birth, there's a whole story surrounding that most historians disagree on. But they do tend to agree on his crucifixion. And whether he was resurrected or not that's when the faith and religion comes into it. So,
I think, I mean, even if you're not religious, like him not ever existing is almost less plausible, right? Like,
yeah,
like how I can't imagine there's someone who's had such influence on the world, probably the most amount of influence than any other one person alive. And imagine, like, if he didn't even exist, how would that even be possible? Unless we go by that theory. What was that theory we looked at ages ago, whereas Jesus was a magic mushroom?
Yeah. Or an alien.
I can't remember the ins and outs to it, so I'll have to have another look at that maybe in a future episode.
I think it was basically like there was a religious sect that used magic mushrooms, but then used the name Jesus as a kind of a code word for it.
A code for mushrooms.
And it just caught on. So it's like, yeah, Jesus is the salvation, but they're actually just talking about magic mushrooms.
Fair.
Yeah. So what other artifacts are there that we need to look at?
Martin, what's yours?
Good question. Well, I've got an artifact that's nowhere near as exciting, I guess, as the cross of Jesus, or has as much grandeur as the cross of of Christ himself. But my artifact is the ring of Saint Edward, also known as Edward the Confessor.
Oh,
so Edward the Confessor, he reigned as King of England from 1042 to 1066. After which Harold II took over, and of course he was defeated by William the Conqueror at the Battle of Hastings. So a little bit about Edward. Edward was known as the peacemaker. He had a passive nature, and after his death, he was declared the patron saint of England. Up until we randomly, inexplicably decided that Saint George should be our saint a few hundred years later in 1347. So a few more little bits about him. He built a cathedral to replace the Saxon church at Westminster, which then later became known as Westminster Abbey, where he was eventually buried. And so he was made a saint in 1161. So the story of Edward's ring, so to speak. So according to this story, to this legend, thank you. Edward was riding to dedicate a chapel to St. John. So he was in England, riding around, going and doing his bits and pieces as you do as a noble king. And he was approached by a beggar who was like asking him for money. He said, "For the love of St. John, can I have food or money?" Edward, as a king, didn't really have like just cash on him. He wasn't into just snacking on the road either, so he didn't have any food. And so instead of that, the theory has it that he took off his large golden royal ring that was covered in jewels and gave it to this beggar. Wow. Of course, the beggar's delighted, and what a noble king he has. This such a generous man. And then a couple of years later, 2 English pilgrims became stranded in the desert in Syria. So they were walking around in the dark. They were lost. They were at death's door, and they were wondering, what the hell was going on. And suddenly, a light came out of nowhere and shone across their path. And in this light, they saw this old man who was there. He had a white head of hair, and his face was described as having wonderful beauty. And so this man proclaimed to be Saint John the Evangelist.
Hey.
Yes, coincidence there. And so with Saint John, he carried this ring that Edward had given to the beggar. So it makes you wonder how this ring got from England to Syria in this time, if we were to believe the legend. Maybe he killed the beggar and took it. But he asked that
I was going to say,
he saved them.
I was going to say, what as a beggar with a gold ring like that?
Yeah.
Where do you go to sell that? It's just useless.
I know. I think I might go to St. John the Evangelist. Yeah. Good question. Alex, before we get into this, there are a few holes in the account. Let's be honest. There are a few holes. We're talking about this being the 11th century, so it's not exactly watertight. So
someone's likely to kill you and take it. I genuinely prefer a sandwich.
Okay. Yeah, he might well have done, to be honest. He might well have done. Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of one of those things where someone feeds a fish and then a bigger fish comes and just eats it straight away, and they're like, shouldn't have fed the fish. Anyway, so after being saved, they basically, they carried this ring, and they were told by St. John the Evangelist to return to England, give a message to Edward saying, "In 6 months, we shall meet together in paradise," which... To me, that sounds a little bit ominous, doesn't it? So he's basically saying to Edward, "You're going to die in 6 months." And of course, lo and behold, 6 months later, Edward dies. And he's then buried in what later becomes Westminster Abbey, with a whole load of other sacred relics from his life and belongings that belonged to him during his lifetime, all buried with him in Westminster Abbey. Yeah. And so we're talking, 400 years later, 500 years later, in fact, just under 500 years later, in 1540, there was the dissolution of the monastery. So Henry VIII basically ransacked all of the monasteries, stealing all of the assets they contained, during his tenure as king. And after this, there are no records of exactly what happened to his ring and all of his other belongings, apart from a suggestion that maybe James II fled later on in 1688 and took the ring with him. But basically, once he was buried there, every time they checked on Edward, he had the ring on him, he had all his belongings up until Henry VIII, ransacked the place. And so, we're not sure exactly what happened, but if you look at the Queen's crown, our Queen Elizabeth II, and there's a big kind of red, what looks like a ruby at the front of her crown, and it's widely believed, not confirmed, but widely believed, that in the Maltese cross at the top of her, in the imperial state crown, is what it's known as. This is one of the jewels, or the sapphire that was on Edward's ring.
Wow.
And so supposedly it exists today within the royal family still, but it's not confirmed. So there we go. So that's a lost artifact that may or may not still exist, but the ring has never been found.
That is a great story.
It's on the Queen's crown.
Yeah,
I've been literally feet away from it before.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I'm assuming it's the one in the Tower of London.
Into the Tower of London.
Yeah. And I'm sure many other people have as well. It's quite a popular tourist destination. Have you ever been to
Tower of London?
Crown Jewels?
No.
Yeah.
Should though.
No, you haven't. History buff, Robin. You haven't seen the Crown Jewels
really,
again, so to speak.
Do you know what? I found the Crown Jewels quite underwhelming. The best thing that I found in the Tower of London was they've got like an armory there, and there was a weapon in there that was an axe, but it had a gun in like the handle of it, like right at the top where the axe is. So you bury it into someone's head and then use their head to aim with, and then you fire the axe.
That is a badass weapon.
How badass is that?
That is pretty
That's like a real thing that exists. That's insane.
It sounds like the weight might be off. You're trying to fire with it and it's weighing you down.
Yeah.
Crazy. Spiffing says, "Are you sure it wasn't just at a James Bond convention, Alex?"
007's latest gadget, just
an axe.
An axe.
Isn't it meant to be inconspicuous?
What's Q cooked up for me?
A bomb.
Q is like,
here's a medieval axe.
I found a way to hide your gun. No one will ever suspect you're carrying a firearm. What we've done with it, Q? It's in an axe. Airport security won't know what hit them. Oh dear.
Rowan says the pen is mightier than.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Rowan just says the pen is mightier than the sword, but not as mighty as the axe gun.
Yes, clearly.
That's the motto that I live my life by.
You have to go to Edinburgh Castle, Alex, and tell us what goodies they've got there.
I've been inside there as well. Some more crown jewels. I'll be honest, like
also shit. Or...
Well, they're just as good. I don't know whether they're more or less valuable.
Oh dear.
Probably less valuable. I don't know. I'd assume, but I remember it being it was good. Again, though, visiting these like castles and the Tower of London, the other stuff interests me more. Like the actual crown jewels isn't all that interesting to me.
Yeah, it's true. There's like, I remember looking at the torture, being a 12-year-old, the torture devices, the tables where you stretch people out and crank up their limbs, crank him up and get your own back. Those were always way more fascinating, weren't they, than just looking at, there's the crown, there's another, I don't know.
Oh, that's shiny.
Another jewel,
That's an impractical hat.
Yeah, that's it. It's the things that people used in life, or perhaps intended to use in the case of the axe gun. Who knows if they ever actually used that? I think that's it, Martin. It's with things like the crown jewels. Like, that's the really fancy stuff that the really rich rulers of the land get to wear occasionally. Great.
It's purely ceremonial, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. Although going back to that, with the ring, it's kind of sad if that's true that the ring of Edward the Confessor, the lost ring of Saint Edward, is in the British crown. It kind of suggests the story about him giving it to the beggar is untrue. More like that his family and then the Normans just came along and like, having that ring, can I melt that down?
I guess, but if you believe the story that the ring was returned then by the two people lost in the desert who then returned to England. So it went from beggar to St. John to the two men back to Edward.
Yeah.
So that's the story. But yeah, you're again, as I said, there are a few holes in the story. Yeah.
Oh, it's very big.
You got it right.
I put the axe gun up on the screen.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the hammer and the trigger I thought they were at the other end of the axe. I thought it was the other way around. I did not realize it was that way around. That is fascinating.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's less cool than I imagined. Actually, I thought it was the trigger would be on the handle, so you'd
bury into the
use it to bizarre. Anyway. Bizarre. It reminds me of something out like I don't know, Dishonored or something.
Yeah, It does look like a video game weapon, actually, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Like Assassin's Creed. They so have that in Assassin's Creed.
Maybe they should.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway, there we go.
Thank you.
Let's take that away.
Cool. Well, shall I tell you my lost artifact story?
Go on then, Robin. Go on then.
I apologise in advance because this one's quite involved, actually. There's a bit more to this than I expected. So,
well, Robin, when you said this, I was like, that sounds like a good topic. Like, yeah, which one are you going to do to make sure that we, weren't going to cover the same topics? And then you told me which one it was, and I didn't know much about it. And I quickly had a Google, and I think to the audience at home, this will suddenly make sense as to why you brought this to the table.
In my defence, I did think of the topic before I found this particular relic.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not long before I found it. I had found this before I suggested the topic, but yeah. Okay, well, we'll get into it. So I want to talk about, again, this is relating to Jesus and the holy prepuce, which is a Latin-derived word, a fancy way and a polite way of saying the holy foreskin. This is, of course, the foreskin of Jesus.
Oh, they were really like scraping the bottom of the barrel, weren't they? The cross had already been found by Empress Helena. It's like,
yeah.
Well, look, I found his foreskin. So.
Well, here's the interesting thing. If the foreskin of Jesus would be the only part of Jesus that remains on the earth, because Jesus' body rose from the grave and then ascended into heaven at the ascension from the top of the mountain. And the whole body, apart from his foreskin, went up to heaven. So it's a very important
How do we
find.
know that his foreskin didn't go up to heaven as well?
Well, there was some debate, some serious theological debate later on about the likelihood of the holy foreskin being real. And that was part of the debate. Some priests, some theologians thought, no, the whole body would have rejoined when he resurrected, and he would have become one again with his foreskin. But that's getting a bit ahead of myself. I can backtrack a bit and just state the obvious in case people are a bit confused. Jesus, of course, was born a Jew, which means that on the 8th day of his life, after being born, he would have been circumcised, as was Jewish custom. And so that means his foreskin was on earth. And then in the apocryphal Gospels, which are religious texts written by Christians, probably in the 5th or 6th century, and not considered canonical by the Catholic Church, these are the first written examples of stories about the foreskin being saved by the people, the old lady who cut it off. The idea being that she had a premonition of how holy this was and thought, I think the story is something like she gave it to her son and said, keep that, don't sell it. And that was kind of how that story went. So
it's not exactly a PlayStation 5, is it? Here you go. Here's someone's foreskin.
Well, don't knock it to if you really receive some religious.
Tried it.
Well, anyway, but the first historical reference we have to the foreskin of Jesus is on December the 25th, AD 800, when Charlemagne, the Holy Roman Emperor of Europe, he had just been made Holy Roman Emperor by Pope Leo III. And in kind of gratitude for this, Charlemagne gifted the holy foreskin to Pope Leo III, who took it to Rome. There are several accounts of how Charlemagne acquired the holy foreskin. He said he was given it by an angel, but another account suggests that the Byzantine Empress Irene gave it to him as a wedding present in the late 8th century. So
this is bizarre.
So it's definitely a case of regifting. He gets given the holy foreskin by the Empress of the East, and then he gives it to the Pope after being made Holy Roman Emperor. Anyway, so it stays in Rome, and we know this. This is true. There's a shrine in Rome of the holy foreskin until 1527, when Rome is sacked.
There's a shrine of a foreskin. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Rome is sacked in 1527, and the foreskin is lost.
Damn.
It is. But then in 1557, just 30 years later, a town about 28 miles from Rome called Calcutta, they find the holy foreskin hidden in the walls of a prison cell. And the story arises that one of the people who sacked Rome, one of the soldiers who raided Rome, stole the holy foreskin and was on his way back home when he was captured in this town 30 miles from the Vatican. And then they put him in a prison cell, and he hid the foreskin in the prison cell, hoping to retrieve it later, presumably, before he was executed. And then when doing some remodeling, I guess, they found the foreskin hidden in this cell in 1557, and then they put it on display. But by the year 1900, the concept of the holy foreskin had fallen out of favor in the Catholic Church. And an official edict was given out by the Pope in 1900, saying that anybody who claimed to have or wrote about the holy foreskin as a real relic would be excommunicated from the Catholic Church.
Wow.
And
they
they
were sick of it.
Yeah.
Sick of hearing
Sick
about
of it.
Stop talking about the holy foreskin.
is real. Now. Yeah, and to the Catholic Church's credit, this is partly because, as you kind of hinted at, some historians have done some research, and apparently there were at one point as many as 31 different churches around Europe that claimed to have the holy foreskin. So
where are they getting these? Are they just nicking these off of kids at birth and just saying, this is it?
Presumably, there must have been some traffic in foreskin. I mean, to be fair...
Robin.
What?
If you find a foreskin behind a prison wall, are you really going to be like, yeah, let's just put that on display? I mean, was it loose? Was it labelled?
Oh,
just a loose foreskin.
Loose foreskin. That must be the foreskin of Jesus Christ.
I don't know why you guys are so skeptical about this.
Also, bloke's being executed. He can't even say say where he got it from or verify its credibility as Jesus' foreskin.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Sadly, we have no measurements. We don't know how big this thing was, so we can't date it. Well,
did it have
can't
any
age
distinctive
the owner
markings or anything? Anything that was...
I don't think there was a birthmark.
Property of Jesus Christ.
It was probably a bit dry and discoloured by 1557, or maybe not.
Most foreskins that had been around that long were.
Well, it was supposed to have properties, miraculous properties, as you'd expect, because it is Jesus' foreskin. It was particularly useful for women who could not conceive. They'd come and they'd touch the foreskin, and then they would conceive. That kind of thing. And in fact, several queens around Europe were visited or were sent holy foreskins to help them conceive. Again, this goes back to the fact that there are at least 31 in circulation at one point in the late Middle Ages. Anyway, so in 1900, the Catholic Church says anyone who talks about the holy foreskin as if it's a real thing will be excommunicated. It's not a real thing. In 1954, they strengthen that even further, and they say you'll not only be excommunicated, but you'll be expunged. You won't be allowed... you're not even allowed to mention your name. Other Catholics won't be able to talk about you, let alone talk to you. So in 1954, the Catholic Church really comes down hard and says the holy foreskin is not a thing. Unfortunately, 30 miles from the Vatican, this village in Calcutta, on January the 1st, every single year, they have a big parade with the foreskin at the center of this parade.
We're going to do it anyway.
We got it anyway.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Centered around a foreskin.
Yes. So throughout Europe and throughout the Catholic world, the holy foreskin falls out of favor, so to speak. Nobody's writing about it. Nobody's talking about it because the Catholic Church has said it's not a thing. But then this village is parading it every year in this celebration on January the 1st, which is great for New Year celebrations. So suddenly it starts.
It's great for New Year celebrations.
It's great. It's fantastic. So
make sure you have a foreskin at your New Year's party.
Yeah, hungover and feeling a bit, squiffy. Your stomach's feeling a bit dodgy. You're not going to foreskin party, are you?
So they do this parade every single year until 1983, okay. When suddenly the priest of the village who guards the holy foreskin says, it's been stolen. Somebody has stolen the holy foreskin. And
here we go.
Since then, no one knows what happens to it. But there are some theories about what actually happened to it. Because the holy foreskin was kept in a very richly bejeweled case. So it would make sense that thieves might want to steal the case and then sell it on the black market. They're not really interested in the foreskin, they're interested in the jewels.
What is this?
But the priest,
imagine not knowing what it was, he just stole a box and
by his own account though,
inside.
He kept it in its jeweled case in a shoebox in his wardrobe.
Oh.
Weirdo.
So people
naturally,
people were a bit suspicious and thought, what burglars would go into his wardrobe in his bedroom and find the shoebox and steal the thing in the shoebox without knowing it's there?
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So suspicion fell upon the priest.
Mm-hmm. Imagine genuinely thinking that, like, you're sleeping in the same room with Jesus Christ's foreskin. It's just got his foreskin in the wardrobe.
It must be quite engorging to feel the aura of Jesus's foreskin in the room. I'm sure he was roused every morning by the thought. Anyway, so suspicion falls on the priest, and his predecessor at the church implies that, or he actually says outright when interviewed by the press, they say, "What do you think about your successor losing the holy foreskin?" He says, "That would never have happened on my watch." So he kind of implies that the priest has something to do with it. And then some witnesses in the village say that they saw the priest going to Rome, going to the Vatican just a few days before he announced that the holy foreskin had gone missing. So suspicion then arises that he hasn't stolen it for his own monetary gain, but the Vatican told him to give it up because, according to the Vatican, the holy foreskin isn't a real thing, and because this village is the only place in the world that has a holy foreskin, it's getting a lot of attention in the Catholic world, and a lot of celebrities are starting to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's a mystery. No one knows what happened to it, but we do know that it was in existence until 1983. Although in 2007, some archaeologists claimed to have found Jesus' foreskin buried in Jerusalem.
Buried?
Yeah.
Okay.
So according to them, foreskin never left the Holy Land. It was buried in Jerusalem, which, I don't know, do you think it likely it was buried in Jerusalem, given Jesus didn't make it to Jerusalem until he was 33?
I mean, why?
Good question.
What made them assume it was Jesus Christ's foreskin and not just any foreskin? Like
I think they might ask the question, why are you keeping a foreskin for so long if it's not Jesus's?
Yeah.
That's all I've got for you, Rob, Alex and Robin. I don't have many answers to this, I've got to be honest.
Yeah. Do we know when Jesus was circumcised?
Well, according to...
It would have been at birth, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the Gospel of Luke, it was 8 days after he was born. And Luke,
why
2, chapter 2.
And it was the lady who did it that kept the foreskin.
According to the apocryphal Gospels, yes. But they were written around 400-500 years later.
They're not canonical, are they?
So they're not considered canonical, no.
Right.
And the only surviving examples we have of them, the only manuscripts surviving with those Gospels in that say Jesus' foreskin was kept, date from the 12th and 13th centuries.
So I imagine it's quite a common thing then to keep it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I think it's weird for parents to keep their kids' teeth when they fall out, you know. But keeping your kids' foreskins out, it's another level, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think any of us are Jewish, are we? Or Muslim. Muslims circumcise as well, don't they? And in Britain, it's not a common practice. In America, I know that a lot of Christians circumcise as well. So I don't know, what's the common practice?
That's a question for the comments, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do your parents keep your foreskin in a jar by the door, like Eleanor Rigby?
Camera Shy Coco says they buried it.
They buried it.
They buried it. Okay.
Fair enough.
By law.
By law.
I hope they don't.
I have to say, like, watching the comments coming in as you're telling this story, Robin, which I was finding really interesting, but it's just some of these comments are great. Rowan says, find a foreskin, pick it up, and all day long you'll have a foreskin rattling around in your pocket.
It's good.
Amazing.
Oh, he also says, The Adventure of the Missing Foreskin is my favourite Sherlock Holmes short story. It's true.
Here's one. Of course, my foreskin was our centrepiece at our dinner table.
Oh my gosh.
Grim.
Don't confuse it with a cocktail sausage.
Hey.
Please also, I think it's the next Indiana Jones movie. Yeah.
So of all the religious artifacts are out there, maybe not even just the ones that we've spoken about today, what ones do you think, or would you like to see rediscovered? There's a question for you both, but also
Yeah.
the comments as well. Like
Yeah.
the Holy Grail, Ark of the
That's-
Covenant.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy Grail always comes to mind just because of it's like there's always the thing of what would it actually look like if you found the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Right. With the Ark of the Covenant, there's of course there's the descriptions of the tabernacle, etc. With Jesus' cross, you kind of know what it roughly would have looked like. Whereas the Holy Grail, it's like, what would have this been made if if this was made, by a divine being?
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm the same. But I think perhaps because we don't know what it looks like, I think I'd be terrible and always doubt whether it really was the Holy Grail. So the Ark of the Covenant for me, because at least we know what it looked like, so I would know if I saw it.
Yeah. Like a carbon dated one. And the thing with the Ark of the
Yeah.
Covenant is the measurements of it, as written in the Bible, are so specific.
Yeah.
And it goes into a huge amount of detail what this thing looked like. So if you found one and it was carbon dated, you could say this is the Ark of the Covenant, right? Like,
yep.
So that would just be genuinely cool. But yeah, you're right. Like, there's no way that the Holy Grail could be found presuming it didn't have any kind of obvious mystical powers, and it not be underwhelming.
Yeah.
Like chalices already exist, so you just try. It's just one of them.
Yeah. But then it would be proof, wouldn't it? If they did find the Holy Grail, more than anything, I guess, you would expect some kind of divine inspiration. You would sense God's presence, because otherwise you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have Jesus was here engraved into the side of the cup. Yeah.
A little doctor's note saying Christ, Jesus, sample taken, 0 AD.
0.
Easter, 0 AD. Yeah.
Oh
dear.
Camera Shy Coco says both Jewish and Christian law prohibit idolatry.
They do.
So does that mean that they can keep the foreskin? Is that you can't?
Good question.
I think
is that what you mean by that?
At the risk of sounding facetious, I think the whole tradition of saints' relics kind of says that the rule against idolatry was not very strictly enforced.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah.
I think that's one of the big things about Protestantism and the split in the Anglican Church. That under Henry VIII that Martin mentioned. Protestants are generally better at avoiding idolatry than the Catholics have been throughout history. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the Vatican's mental. It's like there's people outside I'm going around here. People outside the Vatican with no arms and legs, and it's like, look at all the gold we have, and it's like, come on, guys, come on.
Yeah, Pope Francis
Sort your priorities out.
Has a particular issue with that, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, is that your TripAdvisor review of
the
Vatican?
That was it.
Vatican.
/ make sure you're not wearing shorts because they won't let you in. Yeah.
Big queues to get in. That's my main memory from visiting Vatican. Huge queues.
Oh, you've both been then?
Yeah. I imagine Alex has been. It's my memories of watching it on YouTube.
Oh, right.
Huge queues. Really annoying to watch
though.
those queues.
Yeah.
Well worth the trip.
Good.
Very
3
good.
out of 5.
Yeah.
Very good.
I should go.
Well,
it's good. It's worth seeing.
On that note, shall we have a live Just Interesting quiz?
This could be fun.
I can even go to our quiz thing live.
Oh, that's
Oh,
exciting.
really? Okay,
You
yeah.
can do that.
Yeah. Do it.
There we go.
Woo.
We're back, and it is the quiz. I
was
trust
quick.
now that we're live, you have your buzzers already ready, because otherwise we're gonna be in a situation.
Yeah. Got my buzzer. It's all good.
Now, obviously we're live, so there's going to be a couple of new extra ground rules that I want to discuss with you.
Oh no.
I can actually I can whack the scores up already. There you go.
Oh wow.
Very good.
Because you are against each other in this still. It's a just interesting quiz.
Uh-huh.
But I thought, why not incorporate the comments as well? So this isn't just a quiz for Robin and Martin. This is a quiz for you at home. And can you beat Robin and Martin? I'm going to keep track of the score.
Okay.
Let me whack up something.
So Martin and I can't look at the comments, right? Because otherwise we might see.
Yeah, turn off your Twitch streams.
Yeah,
because collapse the comments.
Yeah.
And listen, if you're sat there at home, yes, you could cheat. Obviously, you could Google it, and I'm not going to know. But just don't. You won't feel good about yourself. Actually,
that was shown.
Actually, what I might do with the comments, maybe it's a first come, first serve. So the first person to get the answer right in the comments gets that point. How about that?
That's not
sounds
bad.
fair.
Yeah.
Because otherwise everyone could copy the thing and it'll get out of hand. So yeah, actually I'm going to go with that. The first person who answers the question right in the comments gets that question. So you are all against each other as much as Robin and Martin.
Brutal. It's like the Hunger Games. Yeah.
Well, I don't mess around. Don't mess around on the live quizzes. Okay, so what are your buzzers? Let's hear them. Robin, what do you got?
I've gone for a new one today, actually. See if this is familiar to either of you.
That's illegal.
Oh no, I've lost the quiz.
Escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
I do not know yet. What is that?
That is the only Tim Curry from Red Alert 3, I think.
How is it?
As the Soviet premier.
Oh.
Spoilers for the game, by the way. That line. But you're going to hear it a lot.
Okay. Peaswad has just pointed out people watching on phones have a longer delay. Oh yeah, I hadn't considered that. Okay, the first 3 people that get the question right, I'll count that as a point. How about that?
Okay, cool.
Okay, Martin, what's your buzzer?
I've gone for a classic for me.
Well, that was Delia. It kind of cut out a little bit towards the end.
Faded towards the end.
Okay.
Well, that was
keep
definitely Delia.
This is a classic quiz setup, by the way. This is what we edit out every single week. There's always a moment where it's like, can't hear your buzzer.
Can't quite
hear that. Can you turn up a bit? Yeah.
We'll roll with it, and then if it's causing issues, I'll just shout into the mic.
Yeah.
You have to do your best Delia impression. It's a problem. Let's be having you. Oh. Peaswood says, my 2-year-old loves that buzzer so much.
Yeah.
That is a great buzzer. Nearly up there with awesome. Nearly up
I still don't quite know where it came, like in terms of when I first used it. I heard it years ago, I think, and just thought it was funny. That'll do.
Okay. Question 1. Fingers on buzzers.
Okay.
How many great-grandchildren does the Queen have?
I'm escaping
Queen Elizabeth
to
II.
the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Okay. I genuinely don't know who that was.
Oh no.
Comments?
Oh, no.
Anyone in the comments? Who was that? Was that Robin or Martin?
Yeah.
I feel like that was Robin. I think that was Robin.
You sure?
Go for it.
You sure? Okay.
Neither of you are looking at the comments, actually, are you?
No.
Okay.
Well, I believe the question was great-grandchildren, right?
Great-grandchildren.
Yeah,
How many great-grandchildren does the Queen have?
I believe she
Robin.
had her 10th this week. Well, she didn't have the 10th. She gained.
It was Mike Tyndall and Zara Phillips, wasn't it?
That is correct. Well done, Robin.
Thank you. Sorry,
got that point. And do you know what, Robin? You beat everyone in the comments. No one got the question right so far. There were some guesses.
Yeah.
But no one got it right so far.
I
think the closest one was Aaron Watching, who got 9.
Oh,
so
that's very close. Did you know that?
And
would
have been correct. Yeah. But like it was this week, the other day. She had her 10th great-grandchild.
Wasn't it? Yeah, very recently.
Yeah.
So my follow-up question is that more or fewer than you expected the Queen to have? I don't know anymore.
I don't know. Apparently, the new one. The new one. I don't know whether it was a boy or a girl or not. But they are 22nd in line to the throne.
Wow, that's not bad.
I believe it was a boy. Yeah.
You know, play Game of Thrones, and
one day
Richard the Third that, and
yeah,
you'll get there one day.
Arrange a family holiday, flying non-stop to Australia. Crash the plane. Oh no, I missed it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
Neighbours style. They had a plane crash a few years ago.
Classic.
On Neighbours.
On Neighbours, they had a plane crash, yeah.
Ah.
But of course, they got to elongate it out. So, of course, you have them getting on board. Can I see your boarding passes, please? You know, the whole thing. And then, of course, it ends with the plane crash and then it cuts at the end. And they're left in the water.
Neighbours.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that means the Queen now has as many great-grandchildren as there are Fast and Furious movies.
That's what she was aiming for.
I mean, are you counting the spin-offs and the
I
short
am
film?
counting the spin-off. Hobbs and Shaw,
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Okay. Well, and the 9th film isn't technically out yet.
Yeah, it exists, though. Somebody's hard drive.
It exists. Yeah. Okay. Question number 2. What was the first capital of England? Oh, I think Martin's
Yeah,
buzzed.
Martin's got there first.
No, I think I've just... no.
I
was going to say... Sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say... I should say, for the people in the comments, if Martin and Robin get it first, then I can't award a point to any of you. So...
Yeah.
I think this is wrong, actually, just thinking about it. But I was going to say Lincoln is the first one.
Hey.
Oh, interesting guess.
I'm escaping.
That is incorrect, though, sorry.
Place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space.
Yes, Robin.
Sorry, Winchester.
It is Winchester, yes.
Thank you.
Very good. And
Rings a bell
also,
now.
I can award a point to
Oh, no.
Czar Chris in the comments, straight in there with Winchester.
Nice
So
one.
well done.
Nice one.
Well done, Chris.
So far on the scores, it is 2 to Robin, 1 to Tsar Chris, and Martin, you're still on 0, I'm afraid.
Sorry. But I'm glad you said Lincoln because special place in my heart. Grew up near there. So.
I went to University of Lincoln, so special place in my heart as well.
Yeah. Martin?
Don't know why I thought Lincoln. Maybe it had the tallest building for ages.
It did,
as well.
yeah. Tallest building
Lincoln
in the world.
Cathedral for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 3.
Okay.
When was the theory that the sun, not the Earth, was the center of the galaxy first presented? And this is a closest wins question, so I'm looking for a date as specific as you like.
Okay.
The sun, not the Earth, was the center of...
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Spies. It was Galileo, right? Galileo.
I was thinking Galileo.
Yeah. So he was alive
in
the 1400s. I'm probably wrong. That's too early, isn't it? I'm going to say 1450. That's wrong, but hey.
Oh, damn you.
Sorry, I was forcing you to pick the first half or the second half.
I think it's a little bit earlier. I'm gonna go for 1400.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you both guessed.
Yeah.
Martin, you were a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Well, Martin is technically correct, but you're both way off. Heliocentrism,
really
we're talking about. This is when it was first presented, not necessarily like adopted, like the first time it was ever presented, and it was by Aristarchus of Samos in the 3rd century BC.
Right.
There we go.
He said like the sun was the center of the universe, which obviously they didn't know.
Yeah,
and that was just due to lack of ability to observe the world around them, I guess.
He's a step closer towards the reality, I suppose.
He even suspected that the other the other balls of light in the sky were other suns. So I mean, had a good head on his shoulders.
Wow. I think it was you, Alex, many podcasts ago, that said, if you can think of anything, particularly in science, that was discovered recently, the Greeks got there first.
Yeah,
you just have to find it. So
I'm going to. That was you, Martin. You got the point for that. So well done.
Closest wins.
Well deserved.
The wrong question.
But I'm also going to award a point to Aaron watching in the comments, who guessed 250 BC.
Oh,
so
very close.
Well done.
That's very close.
So you're on one. I'm actually. Do you know what? I'm also going to award a point to Imagine Jess in the comments, who guessed 500 BC. little bit further away, but
That's pretty good. That's
pretty good, and
Much
way
closer
better
than we
than
were,
these two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 3 of you on 1. This is fun, isn't it? Having multiple people in on the quiz.
Well done for keeping track of the comments.
Robin's still winning, but Martin, you can't let the comments win.
There we go. Well,
Okay, question number 4.
Okay.
What type of animal is a barramundi?
Barramundi.
Wasn't there a
Barramundi.
character called Barramundi in some?
Barramundi.
Barramundi.
What type of animal is Barramundi?
Martin.
Barramundi. A monkey.
It is not a monkey.
Darn.
Damn.
I was hoping you'd be right, so I wouldn't have to guess.
Barramundi.
Okay, it sounds like it might be.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
I'm going to guess it's like an Australian thing. So is it some type of rabbit?
It is not a rabbit, no.
No.
Do you want a clue?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go on then.
Has anyone in the comments got it? Yeah.
There are people in the comments that have got it. Yes.
Damn.
Okay.
It's not
Much
that
cleverer than
specific.
us.
It's not that specific.
Okay.
It's a classic quiz kind of what type of animal
right.
is
Is
something.
it right?
Okay.
Yes, Martin.
A bird.
It is not a bird.
Space.
Damn.
Yes, Robin.
Is it fish?
It's a fish. Yes.
I don't
It's either a
deserve
bird
that.
or a fish when you say
It
that.
was
sorry,
50%,
Martin.
wasn't it?
Bird or fish.
50-50. Well done, Robin.
I don't know that one. But yeah.
Barramundi. No, I don't really know anything about fish.
Who got there first? So Angelos in the comments. Well done. Shout out to Angelos. He got there first.
Nice.
Nice. And I will also accept Manic Code Moss, who also got fish. And then one more. Who else said? No, it was just those two. So good job. Good job, you guys.
Very good.
Okay, so question. So there's 5 people in the comments who's on score of 1 at the moment. So Robin, you are running away with that at the moment, anyway. Question
doesn't feel like it.
Question number 5, and this is also going to be a closest wins.
Okay.
And it kind of relates to the Suez Canal, which has been in the news obviously this week. It's blocked.
How long does it take to get through the Suez Canal? Trick question.
Well, no, I was actually wondering how much of an impact what's going on at the moment would have. So the question is, how many ships pass through the Suez Canal every day on average?
Oh,
I'm
goodness me.
escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Yes, Robin.
1,000. That's not enough. Is it?
1,000 ships.
Yeah.
The entire army that headed to Troy sails through there.
Yeah.
Are we talking about any kind of boat? Are we talking about actual proper cargo big ships?
I don't really know, to be honest. This was just the number that Google provided me. I'm guessing big ships because it's the Suez Canal. I don't know. I guess it's
doesn't
like
include anyone in the canoe.
Based.
Just doing a leisurely kind of.
I don't think
canoe
this is. I think this
canal.
this is the big cargo ships that go through there.
So yes,
Every single day.
Doubt it's 1,000 then.
And it's
1,000. How many is 1,000 per hour? That's like 50 per hour, 1 per minute. Doesn't sound insane.
Spiffing asks, does it include ducks passing through? It does not include ducks passing through, no.
Do
This
they
is
stop
exclusively ships.
I initially thought it was going to be like a really high number, but then Alex was like, the fleet of Troy. I don't know whether he's just trying to put me off or not.
I need an answer, Martin.
I'm going to have to go lower because of what you said. But my initial thought was like 3,500, but I'm not going to go for 3,500. I'm going to go for 350.
Well, the actual answer is 50. So you are right to go lower. And I'm very sorry that from what I said, I seem to make Martin go lower, Robin.
Well played.
Pretty surprising, right? Only 50 ships pass through there every day.
I guess
but then you think about...
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say if they're all giant tankers like the Ever.
Well, exactly. What
Ever
that
Given.
equates to is hundreds and hundreds of thousands
Yeah.
of those what are they called? Shipping containers
Yeah.
worth of products every single week. So
I guess if you think about ferries, they kind of travel every half an hour roughly, don't they, from a port?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it might be a similar kind of
that's true.
Similar kind of deal.
I guess it's the Ever Given that's stuck there at the moment is as long as the Empire State Building is tall, isn't it? So that's nothing to sniff at. Yeah. In terms of 50 ships going through, that's still quite a lot.
It is a lot. I think it's like
70 meters.
10% of all of like production passes through there. So what's happening at the moment, this is quite funny. Like, a ship's blocked it, ha ha ha. But it's apparently like a pretty big deal.
It's nearly $10 billion worth of goods a day are being delayed, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's mad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, going to the comments though, Aaron watching again, very very quick off the mark with 65, so very close.
Nice.
Well done.
Yeah.
You said 350, Martin, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so I'm also, because Tsar Chris said 200 and Spiffing said 125, and they were the first three. So I'm going to say that they get a point as well. Because that was the original rule. So Aaron watching, you are on 2 points. Tsar Chris, you're also on 2 points. And Spiffing, you are on 1 now. So there we go. The race continues as we go on to question number 6. Okay. Some people believe that the area beneath Denver International Airport is home to what exactly? I believe Martin is buzzing, but I can't actually hear it.
Weirdly can't hear it, but we heard the beginning of it. So yeah.
Oh, strange. That's the New World Order.
It is the New World Order. Yes, exactly. Well done, Martin. Yeah.
Oh no, it's come up from behind.
There's a great conspiracy theory.
It is. It's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, it's a weird airport, isn't it? All the artwork going on.
Yeah, horses with red eyes and the sort of like skeleton-looking soldiers, aren't there?
Yeah, the murals, the horse artwork that killed the person who made it. Yeah,
I like to imagine that whoever commissioned the artists to work on the airport was like, we want to make this a welcoming, family-friendly place. And the artist has got all these designs, and the commissioner's just like, no, that's not right. Fix it. Do this. Red eyes on the horse. Red eyes. Yeah, let's do that.
It's lovely.
Red eyes. Yeah. So there are a few good guesses in the comments. I think Manic Kodamos said underground base, which is close, but I was really looking for the New World Order.
And you did say underneath it was like already, so that's kind of.
Oh yeah, that's true. So Illuminati or New World Order, I was kind of after. Peaswad said Nazi bunker. I don't think bunker like Nazis have generally. I mean, I'm sure someone's thought of that, but generally it's the New World Order, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although actually, having said that, part of the theory is that the runways were shaped like a swastika. I'm going to give it to you, Peaswad. I'm going to give it to you. Nazi bunker, sure.
Cool.
Just because of that. So, okay, Peaswad's on 1 as well.
Hey.
Sweet.
I've already given you your point, Martin, haven't I, for that one?
Yeah, he should be on 3 now, I think.
Yeah.
3 all.
3. Yeah, 3.
Yeah. So, question number 7. Question number 7. You ready in the comments? In which country is the world's highest on-land waterfall?
Oh.
Space.
I do know the answer to this. In which country?
Which country? Yeah.
Damn. Okay, I know the continent. Is it? Oh, is it Venezuela?
Boom! There it is. Yes, it's Venezuela.
Angel Falls.
Thank you.
Angel Falls in Venezuela. Yes, it's 979 meters tall.
That's crazy.
I also had to specify that it was an on-land one because there is a waterfall underwater, which I'd never heard of before, which is apparently bigger. But that doesn't count, surely.
But
the whole ocean.
It's not higher. Your question was, what's the highest? Surely if it's underwater, it's not higher, right?
Well, I think
I guess you could say, like, what's the tallest volcano? And
exactly.
Right, yeah, that's true.
The tallest mountains are underwater.
Highest, poor choice of words. Yeah. Fine, you got me.
I'd like to see what the tallest waterfall underwater looks like. You'd never see it coming.
True.
That's true. That's true.
Is that where fish go to have a shower?
So, in the comments, Manic Kodamos did say Venezuela. I saw it pop up after you'd already said it, but I think the comments on here are a bit delayed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to you. So you are also on 2, along with Aaron. You are also on 2. However, Robin and Martin, you're doing well so far. Have to say we've had a lot of practice, I guess.
It's not like we've had a couple recently where the scores are very low because we weren't doing very well, were we?
That's true. Lots of closest wins questions, I guess.
Yeah, that helps.
Well, the next 3 questions, since we're on Twitch, and this is, generally a new experience for us, I thought the next 3 questions I'd theme around Twitch itself, because I know that you are both really big into Twitch and
you're so big.
Knowing all the facts about Twitch.
I can spell it.
Question number 8. In total hours watched, what was the top streamed game on Twitch in February 2021? Yes, Martin.
February 2021.
In February 2021.
It must have. Actually, it hasn't been as big recently. Oh no, I'm panicking now. I'm going to say Warzone, but it wasn't.
It was not Warzone, no. I was quite. No, actually, I'm not going to say anything. Go on then, Robin.
I'm sure if I racked my brain, I might be able to come up with an educated guess, but I genuinely don't know. So if it's not Warzone, Fortnite?
It's a good guess. It's not Fortnite, though. I will say that someone in the comments has got it, but I'm not going to say who.
Well done. Well done for the knowledge. Is it Peaswad? Being a Twitch streamer himself.
I'm not allowed to say, not yet. Actually, no, Peaswad's guessed the same thing that Martin guessed.
Okay. What's a popular
I'm assuming
game?
so anyway.
I mean, games released recently in February 2021. Any new releases that might have
in February 2021
streamed?
Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
Okay. Buzz has gone off, was it? Yeah.
It's I don't think either of us would be into this kind of game. It's quite a popular esport game.
Oh.
Is that you, Martin?
Yeah, that was Martin.
Yeah, I went for a buzz. Could it be Dota 2?
It's not Dota 2.
Oh.
One place that hasn't been corrupted by...
Yes, Robin.
League of Legends?
It's League of Legends, yes.
Thanks, Martin.
It's between those two.
I would never have thought of it, if you hadn't said it.
Well done. Yeah.
Wow, these games are still popular.
Not really something that I'd be into, but League of Legends in February had 150.1 million hours streamed. So yeah, Scotty in the comments. Well, Scotty put LOL, so I'm assuming he meant League of Legends.
That's probably what he meant. Or he
and
found the question really hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah. I'll give it to you. So comments are doing quite well.
Very well.
Aaron Watching and Manic. What's your name? I'm just going to call you Manic from now on. Are on 2, and then
very good.
Several other commenters are on 1. Whereas Robin and Martin, you are stealing the show here.
That's a big relief, to be honest.
Question number 9.
Oh.
When did Twitch first launch for the public? I'll accept closest wins on this one.
Ooh.
The closest wins,
No
when
idea.
did it launch?
No idea.
You can go as specific as down to the day if you want.
Capitalism.
I'm just going for a year. 2008.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Way too early, isn't it?
yeah, it's way too early. Sure, that's way too early. I was going to go for way later, but I need the point. I need the point. So my official answer is 2009. But I'm thinking like 2016 probably.
That explode. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll go to 2009. Yeah, that's my official answer.
Well, it's probably a good thing you didn't go too much higher, Martin, because Twitch actually launched in its beta state, but like as public for the public in June 6th, 2011.
Really? Wow.
So
10 years.
A couple of years off.
I didn't know.
So it's
that's amazing.
Coming up to its 10th year anniversary.
Oh man, if you'd gone for 2016, I might have got the point.
I think
You would have got the point. Yeah.
So well done, Martin. And in the comments, who was closest? I don't think anyone said 2011 actually. Czar Chris,
well early. Yeah.
Czar Chris got 2010, so I'm going to give him
close.
a point.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Close.
Rowan said 2012, so 1 year off. So
Very
I'll
good, yeah.
give Rowan a point. And who else was closest?
I wonder what it looked like.
No,
back
I
then.
think those two got the closest. So
Yeah, well done.
yeah.
You know, sometimes when you go back in time and look at old versions or initial versions of, it could be a TV station's logo, or it could be an online social media website, and you go back in time, you look at its original appearance, and you just think, wow, things have
massively.
changed.
Like
Yeah.
YouTube, early YouTube looked
So simple.
made in
Yeah.
Comic Sans. Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh, this looks so much better. Why have they changed it? Like back then. But
Yeah,
then
of
you look
course.
at it now
Yeah.
and you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the features that were stripped away are genuinely like, I still do kind of miss them.
Oh yeah, like what? I can't remember.
I remember they had like on YouTube anyway, they had like, I mean, they kind of do now with the creators of On the Rise, but they had like featured videos.
They did.
That
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
there wasn't trending, but it was like I mean, I guess that's just the homepage now.
Yeah, but they stopped.
I guess they just kind of
They used to have a
streamlined those
dedicated page of featured
Rated.
videos, didn't they, in different categories? Yeah, stop doing that.
Yeah, that was quite good.
Yeah.
And
I'd say that the insights and analytics now are more. They're more in depth, but for someone who isn't doing it all the time, they're more difficult to navigate.
Yeah,
For someone who's just wanting to do their own thing and learn a little bit,
yeah,
they are more difficult to navigate for sure.
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, everything's buried a little bit too deeply. If you're just casually doing it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 10. Final question of the quiz. Martin, you can still equalize.
Yeah.
In the comments, I mean, you've beaten them all, to be honest, you guys. So well done. Czar Chris, you could equalize with Martin if you get this point as well.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
we shall see. How many followers does Ninja have at the time of recording? I'll closest wins as well. I'll accept.
Ninja is huge. Ninja is big.
Yes.
On Twitch, I should specify. He probably has other socials.
I am as new to Twitch as Just Interesting is. This is a completely new thing for me. So I don't actually know.
What's a lot on Twitch?
20 people watching us live right now is blowing my mind, to be frank. So how many people would follow Ninja? And I know Ninja is big. So is it?
So he is the biggest streamer in the world still.
10 million.
10 million.
10 million followers.
Came to mind to me was weirdly 11.2 million came to mind. I don't know why. So I'm going to go for 11.2 million.
Specific. I like it.
Yeah.
It's not 11.2 million, but
I would have loved it if that was the case.
You are closer though, Martin.
Damn it.
18
It's got
million.
more than... Wow.
He has 16.9 million followers. So well done, Martin.
There we go.
Have a look. So
there
that's,
we go.
Well, you're both on 5. Well done.
Guys, before the bonus question, I just have to quickly grab my charger because otherwise my laptop's going to die. This is fantastic for live stream.
It's all right. You don't have to grab the charger, Martin. You can.
Well, let's go through the comment. Let's go through who got what in the comments.
Yeah, how Chris viewers do.
Unfortunately, Chris, you only said 2 million, so I cannot accept that. I'm afraid. Who got the closest? Peaswad got the closest. I mean, Peaswad is Peaswad is an avid streamer himself. So actually, that's a good point. If you're not following Peaswad on Twitch, go ahead and give him a follow.
Follow Peaswad.
Do.
You're a big fan of Battlefield 5.
Anyone else that streams as well? Yeah, just
please do.
Follow me, Colin, and we'll follow you too.
If you're a streamer, Camera Shy Coco. Yeah. I've gone into the comments now because we've finished the main quiz, but I'll go off again when we do the bonus question. Camera Shy Coco said, "Who's Ninja?" And yes, I know how you feel.
I've never seen the stream of Ninja, in fairness. I don't know what his personality or.
Are they Americans?
He's got blue hair. That's all I know.
Okay.
Actually, I don't even know if he does anymore, but he was famous for that, wasn't he? Not for that, obviously, for being an amazing gamer. Not for having blue hair. He just had. That's just whatever.
It's true that a lot of streamers, gaming streamers, do just have bright hair as like prerequisite for becoming a good streamer, a popular streamer. Just dye your hair blue.
Yeah,
I think I've posted.
How many followers would we need to get
before we
either of you to consider dyeing your hair blue?
Alex,
would we have to beat Ninja?
How many are we on now?
Beat Ninja before we dye our hair.
We are on 134 followers.
250 by next week, and I'll dye my hair blue.
Just 250 by next week.
250 by next week, I'll dye my hair blue.
Okay,
that's genuinely doable, actually.
On my head, yeah.
I'm going to spend the next week
my arm hair
marketing our Twitch so badly and getting 250 followers by next week.
I'm at home. It doesn't matter.
I really want to see that. That'd be amazing.
I think you'll look good. I think you'll be able to pull it off, actually.
Blue rinse, like an
Okay, well, we actually have to go to the bonus question now.
We do.
Yeah, quick enough.
The tiebreaker. Here we go. We ready in the comments? Who do you think is going to win? Robin or Martin? Place
That's the question.
Okay. How old is the Eiffel Tower? Closest wins.
Space.
100.
Robin.
No, 100 and shit. Pardon me. 165 years old.
Okay.
I'm 65, so that'll be 18. So I was thinking 19th century, late 19th century. I was thinking.
Yeah, I think you're right.
1870s. That was my initial 1880s.
That's probably right.
Is that late?
It's probably right.
To native, but then it took a little while to build, though. So was it just lying around, or was it its construction? No, I'm just stalling. I'm just stalling here. What do you? 160? I think it's slightly newer, maybe. 150. Let's go round.
Solid.
Well, it's the comeback of a century. Martin gets the point.
Well done. Is it 150th anniversary or something?
No, it's not 150. It's
you're completely wrong. It's 30 years.
It's 134 years old.
Oh,
so
it's a lot younger.
Looking at the comments, Peaswad was probably the closest. He said 145 years old.
Oh no, Imagine Jess said 120.
Imagine Jess said 120, and she said it gone there just a bit sooner as well. So Imagine Jess, I'm going to give you a point, and Peaswad gets a point, I believe.
Yeah.
Very good.
Solid.
And Scotty, I'll give Scotty a point as well with 152. So,
but Martin said 150. Oh yeah, he got the point. Sorry. I forgot that we got a point regardless, even if the commenters also got a point. I forgot. That's how it worked.
Yes.
Well done, Martin. That was a great
Maybe we
comeback.
need to refine these comments rules for taking part in the future. But I thought that was a huge success.
Absolutely.
congratulations, Martin, and congratulations to
Cheers
our
to
commenters.
you.
Well, thanks for taking part. Peaswad up there with 3 points, along with Tsar Chris on 3 as well. Joint first in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
And then well done to Manic and Aaron watching, both on 2 points. And Imagine Jess, sorry, you just got a point as well. So 2 people on 3 points, 3 people on 2 points. Oh, and Scotty. Scotty's also on 2 points.
Well done, everyone.
Well done, everyone.
That was really fun. And well done, everyone in the comments for doing so well.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
not as well as these 2 champions.
Well, there's only
Well,
one
we get a
champion,
point regardless.
and that's Martin.
We get a point regardless, though, don't we? If it's especially the closest win ones.
That's so true.
It's
Actually,
hard for us not to
makes,
get a point, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a huge advantage that you have. Okay, I need to refine that and work it out for next time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe we have a leaderboard for the comments.
That would be a lovely idea. I don't have that at the moment, but for next time, let's prepare this. We'll come back with a leaderboard for commenters. And Spiffing says, "I think Alex is the real winner." Which that's really
knowledge.
Thank you.
Knowledge was the
winner. Well, let us know at home if you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed the discussion today. It's gone pretty well, I think. Like, no technical difficulties so far.
No, well managed, Alex. Yes, well done.
I actually realized we don't have a scoreboard. Haven't done the scoreboard that we normally have pop up here.
No, I assumed you weren't going to do the
on-screen
little
ones.
league table because it would be a bit complicated to do it live. But it looks like we could actually do it live next time if we do this again.
I think what this means, though, in terms of the leaderboard, me and Martin are drawing on 3 wins, and I think you're on 4, Robin.
Potentially.
So it's very close.
It's very close. I remember that.
Yeah.
I think. Are you sure Martin's not tying with me?
I
had a poor start, Robin, to this series.
Yeah.
No, I think you're
coming back to win that trophy for a second season in a row.
You need to show that off more, Martin. I
do need to. It's not a great beer vessel, and I usually drink a beer, so I might have to put some water in it. It's probably for the best in hydration, and showcase it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again, Martin, and thank you everyone so much for staying with us this whole time. I hope you found it interesting. Let us know what you think about the live podcast. Would you like to see this again? Maybe even a recurring thing. I'm happy to do this again. Actually, it was fun.
It was lots of fun. It's great to have that live interaction with the commenters and the viewers. Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I guess we'll see you next week unless there's anything else we need to add.
I think that's it for now. If you fancy heading across to the patreon.com/justinteresting, there's more content over there, more bits and pieces that we've done. But other than that, thank you so much. Follow us if you haven't on Twitch, and see you next time.
We'll put this recording up on our YouTube as well in case you didn't manage to catch all of this.
Absolutely.
And obviously it will be released on all podcast platforms as usual. And if you're watching this on a podcast platform down the line, why not follow us on Twitch and YouTube? So you can engage with us live next time. But I'm now just rambling. This is what happens Normally we have to cut down the ending. Never know how to end this. So I'm just going to say thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.